Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and begin right now. We're going to have a presentation that I find fascinating about taking what's happening in science and being able to infuse the technology of blockchain with it, to be able to let people understand what's there and incentivizing it through some of the tools that we have with SteemIt. And Shak is here to tell you about that, of what's going on with evaluation from a science point of view, and just what little bit I've seen, it looks pretty exciting. So join me in welcoming Shak. He's going to tell us all about it.
Thank you, Terry. Hello, my name is Shak. I'm the project leader of PEvO. PEvO stands for Publish and Evaluate on Chain. And what we want to do is to change the way how scientists actually access, create, publish, and evaluate scientific results by creating a scientific publication platform which uses the Steem blockchain. And what I want to accomplish today is to help you understand why a change in the system is needed right now. And then I will introduce or give you an introduction into the history of scientific publication. I will explain the business model behind it and how we are going to solve all of these problems. And there was a time actually when there were no ICOs, no Bitcoin, and not even the internet was born. But there was a pioneering group of scientists who was discussing how to open up science to the masses. And they came up with the idea of building or establishing a scientific journal. And the first scientific journal was born in 1665. And it was a huge advancement because scientific results could finally reach a much bigger audience than before. And scientists could actually collaboratively work on improving society and curing diseases, for example. So the number of journals increased, research output increased, and governments decided to let scientists actually apply for public grants, public fundings, which created a great competition between scientists and publishers, this movement led publishers to become the market leaders, some of them. Actually, one of them was Elsevier. I think most of the scientists know Elsevier. And most of the scientists were trying to get into the most prestigious journals for better career chances. And publishers were charging the universities huge amount of subscription fees. So, because most of these scientific journals and papers were actually only accessible when they were buying papers, journals, and which were only printed versions at that time. So then, the internet was born, and almost 22 years ago, Forbes made a big bet against the scientific publishing industry, and due to the rise of the internet and the digital evolution. So, what happened after this article was published was the stock price of Elsevier, which was the biggest publisher at that time, and is still actually. The stock price went down by approximately 7%, which is obviously nothing compared to crypto, but still it was a very harsh drop. But what's very astonishing is that after the stock price went down, actually 15 years later, Elsevier became much more powerful, much more profitable, and they had an annual profit of approximately $724 million, million actually, and a year actually, And so the core of a scientific publisher's operation is in scientific journals. And now let's look into how scientific publishers or publishers in general are making money. So in order to make money from an article, let's say a normal magazine, they first have to cover a multitude of costs, which is paying writers for articles, which is employing editors for the shaping and checking of the articles, and then they pay to distribute the finished product to their subscribers and their retailers. And a successful magazine actually makes about 12 to 15% of profit. And when we look at how a scientific publisher makes money from a scientific article, it looks very similar, except that scientific publishers are doing a very great job in hiding most of their actual costs. So let's look at the established process very quickly. So when a paper gets created, the scientist creates work and gives it to publishers for free. And then the publishers pay scientific editors to judge whether the work is worth publishing and check its grammar. But the major part of the scientific work or the editorial work, which is checking the scientific validity, it's evaluating the experiments, a process which is called peer review, is done by scientists without any compensation. So when a paper gets accepted, the publisher then distributes the scientific work by selling journals back to their subscribers that are in fact libraries and universities to be then read by scientists who actually created the work in the first place. And if we look at publishing companies in general, we can point out two basic services that are access and evaluation. So, and both of these services actually are restricted, and that's the critical point here. Because access is restricted by requiring payments, there are paywalls, you first have to pay to get the paper most of the time, when it's not open access. And then the evaluation, which should ensure that only high quality publications are getting accepted. And this process is, the evaluation part is restricted by relying on 2 to 4 pre-publication peer reviews, and by actually keeping them a secret. And for a few years now, publishing companies are under intense criticism for exaggerated price policies and intransparent pricing policies, and actually for privatizing the profit of mostly publicly funded research. So what we are going to do is we are addressing both of these problems, services, sorry, and the access and the evaluation part. So the evaluation part hasn't received that much attention yet, and as a result of this restrictions in the evaluation part, the established system suffers from a lack of quality because there are only 2 to 4 people really judging on the quality of your paper, and which is the only immediate indication of a new paper's quality, actually. And many scientists also believe that publishing companies have so much influence and over what scientists choose to study, which is very bad for science itself. So scientists that know exactly what kind of paper gets published might align their research topic accordingly, so to increase their chances of getting published in one of the top tier journals. But as I said, PEvO is here to help. And we are creating a really new way of publishing by reorganizing the order of how a paper gets reviewed and published. And we're adding an ongoing post-publication process of transparent peer review after the paper gets published on our platform. And as soon as the research work is done, it gets published. And as soon as it's published, it's publicly accessible for everyone. It's going to be for free and nobody has to pay. There will be no paywalls. And as soon as and when you look at that, in the established process, a paper can be rejected in the peer review part. And even if the outcome of the research might win a Nobel Prize years later, which has already happened 8 times before. So now I've talked about the PEvO way of publishing. Now let's look into how it could actually work. So we're using the Steem blockchain as a distributed database and to archive papers, metadata, IPFS links, and and here, what you can see here is the PEvO, which is built on top of the Steem blockchain, and all the user interactions that might be possible on our platform, which is the evaluation cycle, which I already talked about. It's like you can publish, other scientists can upvote or approve or disapprove the quality of your paper. Then there can be a discourse. Other scientists can discuss the methodology of your experiments, for example. You can publish reviews with attachment. You can publish a summary of your review, and then, which is a very important part, is that authors are free to release a new paper to correct the errors from the previous paper, and both of these papers are linked to each other. So versioning will be an easy thing on our platform, and other researchers can really reproduce the study by modifying just single parameters. So. Okay, and yeah, there's IPFS, a peer-to-peer protocol, which we will use to locate full articles and raw data and other files that are referenced on the Steem blockchain, just to ensure permanent availability of all the papers that are attached to the blockchain, to the articles that are published on our platform. So, what are the conclusions? So, first of all, there will be free access and free publication on our platform. So no paywalls. And with PEvO, scientists will be able to build their reputation by actively contributing to the world of science. And we will start working on our prototype very soon. And it will be developed in very close collaboration with our partners and advisors that are supporting our project. And we believe that the evaluation mechanism should be created by scientists themselves. So now let's have a look who we are working with. And there's the Cambridge Neuroscience Department. One of our close partners is Nikolaus Kriegeskorte. And he has published a paper actually which helped me understand the whole idea of PEvO, how to revolutionize scientific publishing and evaluation. Then there's the Technical University of Hamburg, which we are working with. They will help us with fundings and have discussions with other scientists from the university, actually. Then the University of Hamburg, and the really closest supporter and advisor of PEvO is Sönke Bartling. He's the founder of Blockchain for Science, and now I'd like to introduce you and give it back to you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm a scientist and I work in basic medical imaging sciences. I have an affiliation at the Humboldt Institute for Internet Society in Berlin, and I was always interested in what the Internet, Web 2.0 could do for science. So I wrote a book on it, Opening Science, open up science from the constraints of business models and all these things. And now the blockchain revolution is coming. And I founded a think tank. It's going to be a company. At the moment it's the information hub. We will do consulting and we support projects. And PEvO Science is a very beautiful implementation of what the immutability and openness of blockchain could bring to science. And I really like the idea of having this continuous post-publication review. And then I see it as a starting point. And there's an economy behind it, right, in the Steem platform. And I would like to see that this will evolve into a new way of research money distribution, and with maybe new ways of incentivization of openness and real innovation in science could be generated. And I see this as a great starting point. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. That's it. We're finished. Thank you. So we're open for questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question because, excuse me, sir, I'll be in here right now. If you have a question, please come back here so that there's this live stream. Okay. Here? Right here. Yeah, I think it sounds great, but from my little experience of academia, it's science and academia is completely political. And from what I can, I think all papers should be open access. They should be available to the people who paid for them, which is often the public. But the publish and perish is not just that scientists need to publish, but they need to publish in high-rated magazines.
Absolutely.
So at the moment, the only people I can see who would send you the articles are the ones who can't get them into the high-rated magazines. So you're in danger that you're only going to get the what's left over, which is starting you on a wrong foot. Have you any thought about how you can actually incentivize that?
Yeah, Michael? This is Farazan.
Yeah, hi, I'm Michael, Farazan, founder of PEvO. What you say is a big problem, definitely. Established scientists who are publishing in those high journals don't have an interest to change anything about that. We have been thinking about creating our own kind of reputation algorithm, which could be similar to the impact points by all the contributions people do. By now, we're at the point where we say maybe Google Scholar can do that better, index us. There are other services, ResearchGate or whoever, they all have their scores. And I think it's a long process. We were very enthusiastic last year that we will scramble everything around in 5 to 10 years. That won't happen. But we will offer this new platform for everyone interested and hope that it gets accepted and grows. The current open access scene is very fragmented. It's very difficult. People sometimes have to pay to publish there. And we will offer an alternative and hope that we can make it better than what's existing at the moment.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can add something to that too. So blockchain as a value net, right? It can create new ways where money goes. And this is a new thing in this revolution. Like the Science 2.0 open science revolution didn't affect money distribution. But maybe the Steam economy, maybe other ways, and if you transfer the money in different ways, we will make a real impact. Yeah? For example, there is the first ICO for research project running now at the moment. And we can design the guidelines for it, so why don't we ask the people who get the money through ICOs to be really open this time?
Well, that would make a huge difference if somehow you could link that. Publishing would lead to research funding, because that's a huge problem. Yeah.
That's an idea for later. We have other steps before, but yes.
Hi there. Yes, I think what you're doing is very important because yes, there are so many great ideas out there that people don't have the money to fund or to pay for this sort of thing, so they could perhaps post on your system. So what I'm wondering is a related note, though, is it you showed those distinctions between the process of has it been evaluated, and is that going to be real clear to someone who's looking? So if I come to your platform to do some research, will I be able to clearly see and understand, okay, this one really has been reviewed by a lot of people or not, and how is that distinguished?
Basically, that's a user interface issue, so we need to display it. Everything is open and transparent, so we can just find a way to filter by the best reviews or whatever. So, but that's implementation details we didn't really reach yet.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well,
Thank
did you have a question? No? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.